What's up, guys? It's Nathan back with another video. It's been a minute, but guys, I wanted to come on here and talk about something very important: the fear of the Lord. Now, a lot's happened since I made my last video, but I say one of the biggest lessons that I've learned is that if you don't have the fear of the Lord, you can serve God, you can love God, but if you don't have the fear of God in you, you're going to fall, and you're going to fall hard, and pride's going to enter you. It's a quick story. Last summer, before I started the new school year, I had this chaplain job for my student government, and basically I was going to represent the school in a spiritual life manner. I was going to handle the budget, the finances, the events, the planning. And it was a big responsibility for my university since we're Christian based. And so it was an amazing thing, and I was so happy to be able to serve the Lord, and I was just on fire for God, right? Like, I loved him. You know, I would seek his face every day. But then I met this girl, and let's just say, just to keep the story short, I fell into sexual sin. Like, I felt bad. And, you know, it started off fine. You know, we started off under the fear of God, but if I'm being honest, like, I was lying to myself in so many different ways, and I allowed that relationship to allow me to fall into sin. But the point being is this, that I love God, but I did not fear God. I was starting to lose the reverence and the fear of God in my life, and that caused me to fall into sin. And honestly, that led to, that wasn't just a small thing. I thought I could just, bounce back from it. And, the Lord did forgive me, but I'm telling you, it might have set me back like a whole year. It might have set me back a lot in my relationship with Christ. God worked it all together for good, but I did have to suffer a lot, and God brought a lot of punishment upon my life. He began to reveal idols in my life. Now, there's another story I'd like to share regarding this, the fear of God, and it's about this. I'm not going to name the pastor, but he was an amazing pastor who loved the Lord and served the Lord in so many different ways. And I can't remember exactly where I saw this, but I saw it on a podcast where these two, he found himself in jail. He committed like a grievous sin. He did something horrible and it got him into legal trouble. And so this pastor finds himself in jail, and he's talking to this guy who's now making a podcast. They're both out of jail now, but the guy who is his roommate in jail asked him a very interesting question. He said, "How did it happen? Like, what happened? You were a pastor, you were serving the Lord, you loved him, you were doing great things." And he really was, honestly. Like, this man was doing great things for the Lord, and people were coming to Christ through him. But one thing that happened, he said, "What happened, Pastor?" And he said this, and it's so profound. He said, "I loved God, but I did not fear God." And so we see here that this man could serve the Lord. He could do all kinds of ministry work. He could even, maybe even seek the Lord, but he did not fear him. He did not have reverence. He was not afraid of God. So what's my point for today's video is that if you don't have the fear of God, it doesn't matter how much you love him. It doesn't matter how much service you do. It doesn't matter, the devotion you have to him. If you don't fear him, you're going to fall, and you're going to fall into pride. An example of this that we see in the Bible is King Saul. King Saul was commanded to wipe out the Amalekites, not leave a man or woman or animal even alive. And it sounds harsh. We can get into that later, but he was commanded that. But he thought to himself, maybe I'll just save some of the plunder for, my men and for, sacrifices unto the Lord. Like, look, watch that. He had a noble thought. He was going to keep some of the plunder to sacrifice to God. But when he came to Samuel, he said, why do I still hear sheep? Why do I see plunder in the hands of your men? He said, oh yeah, because I was going to give this to the Lord and sacrifice it to him. He said, obedience is better than sacrifice, to heed better than the fat of rams. And he said, rebellion is like the spirit of divination. So look, King Saul, even though he had seemingly a noble idea to keep some of the plunder so he could sacrifice to God, so he could love God, but here's the thing, God doesn't care about that more than he cares about you obeying him. So obedience is better than sacrifice. The fear of the Lord is above all things. I want to give another analogy to really lock this in, because it's impossible to love God and not fear him at the same time. And we're going to see in this example, when someone has a child, you know, a mother and a father, and there's a child, they can love that child, but you're not going to fear that child, right? Like if I have a son or you have a son or a daughter, let's say, you know, you love them, but you're not going to fear them. You're not going to have reverence unto them, right? But if you flip it, you know, in a healthy family, you're going to have reverence and fear of your dad or your mom, that they're going to, you know, punish you. Like they're going to mess you up if, you know, they can give you a whooping or they can discipline you in some way, however they see fit. But you still know that they love you, right? You can still love them. So it's important to have both the love of the Lord and the fear of the Lord. I'm telling you, I went through this, and I'm telling you, it hurt my pride, hurt my ego. I fell. I had to be embarrassed in front of a lot of people. It set me back maybe even a year in my walk with the Lord. Now God, I'm seeing how he's working it all together for good, and he's been faithful and he's merciful. I'm telling you right now, if you don't fear the Lord, you're not going to be able to serve him. You're not going to be able to go far in life. You're not going to be able to walk in righteousness. So it's important, yes, the greatest commandment is to love the Lord your God with all your heart, mind, and strength, and to love your neighbor. But it also says in Proverbs, the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. Knowledge of the Holy One is understanding. And so that's been repeated so many times in the Proverbs. And this is coming from Solomon, King Solomon, in the Proverbs, who says the fear of the Lord is beginning of wisdom. He repeats that so much. Why? Because he himself fell into temptation with countless things. He gave himself over to idols. And maybe even in his bitterness and his reflection and his regret at the end of his years, when he's writing the book of Proverbs and Ecclesiastes, he sees that everything is vanity, and that the only thing that matters is to fear God and keep his commandments. Because if we don't fear him, we're going to fall into sin, and we're going to have so much trouble, so much headache that could have been avoided. And so fear God. You know, it doesn't mean you have to be anxious about everything. It doesn't mean that he doesn't have mercy and grace on you. But I'm telling you right now, begin to ask the Lord to give you a healthy reverence and fear of God, like you would fear your father. You know, you don't have anxiety because your, you know, earthly father could discipline you. You know he loves you, but he disciplines you for your good. And so even if he is disciplining you, maybe you find yourself in the discipline of the Lord right now, like I did. And sometimes I still feel like it. But I feel like he's kind of bringing me into a new season now. But if you're feeling that discipline, just know that it's in love, because if he didn't discipline you, he wouldn't care where you're going. You mess up and go down the hellhole if you wanted to, but because he loves you, he's going to discipline you. That way you don't do it again, and you walk in the path of righteousness, and you begin to have a fruitful life in the Lord. As you guys can see, I just buzzed my head, and so it's really a new season. I want to try to start posting more consistently for anyone who cares. Yeah, guys, I just graduated university, so we're stepping into a new season. But we're out here in nature, enjoying the sunlight. I'm in Texas right now, San Antonio. So just moved, so it's a new season again. Love you guys. See you next time. Peace.